Well, I actually wrote a speech tonight, but I really don't know if I will stick with it because I was a little overwhelmed when I came here tonight because I had no idea of who was coming, and I'm just amazed. We have one couple who didn't come specifically for this, but they've come down from Cairns, and I've talked to them. I met them once when Meryl and I were in Cairns. We went and stayed at Turtle Cove. So Meryl and I, they all thought we were lesbian, but that was it was a very funny weekend, and we were like the oldest lesbians on the block. And so we met this particular couple. So, and I was quite shocked that they were here. And then also some of the others I've got tonight, some of the original PFlaggers that I met when I first started doing this, and this is really nice. And then also some of the newer PFlag parents who've come along to support me. And it's nice to see that because I feel like I support you so much, but then to have you here tonight without me sort of asking or whatever, you've all just come along. I really do appreciate that, so thank you. And also too, I'd like to thank David because David and I, we are good buddies, and we didn't drink all night, just half the night. So, but anyway, most know I like a wine. But anyway, how exciting is this? And I think thank you again, everyone, for support and coming along to launch my first and probably last book. And as I said, thank you to David for coming along. And I wrote this book because one day when I really have decided it's time to hang up my PFlag hat and my rainbow flags, that at least I know that the book will continue letting people know that they aren't alone and that it really is okay to have a gay son or a lesbian daughter. And that's what I've done. I've concentrated mainly on the lesbian and gay. I haven't gone into so much the bisexual and transgender. But I want to pass on the message that it takes time for families to understand, not to blame themselves, and I've lost it. Yeah, and especially, most importantly, not to allow the double standards to creep in, because this is a very big one that a lot of people don't handle well. And the book, I hope, also passes on the message that as a parent, our love shouldn't be conditional, and that we as parents really need to step up and support our young people at a time they need us most. But parents need help to understand what is happening, and this is where I think PFlag really does come in, because when they come to the meetings, as most would tell you, you come along and you've got all your fears and concerns, but after you've sat there for a while or you've come to a few meetings, you realise that it really isn't so bad. And actually at our last meeting there was a parent came along, and it was her first meeting, and when she left she said, I came here feeling very confused and concerned, but she said, I'm leaving feeling that I really should be embracing this. And I thought, wow, if every other parent got it that fast, you wouldn't be needing PFlag. And I think also the book will give people hope that if they do have a loved one that's gay or lesbian, that there is hope there, it will improve. And the book has several stories of parents who initially struggled and survived and successfully embraced their child unconditionally. And it also discusses some of my lobbying and how I got onto the path of writing resources. And I'd also like to make comment tonight that I have a couple of parents who are in the book, and what I did was I changed the names, but we have sitting over here we have the dad who was the bloody mongrel, and I always introduce him as the bloody mongrel because that's what he said. I was a bloody mongrel to my son. And Ron and I used to go with some of the other parents, and we'd give talks at coming out groups at different unis. And there's also a CD with Ron's story on it. And Ron was actually the one who had his story had most impact on the young people, because they thought, here's a dad who's homophobic and all the wrong things, and yet here he is so accepting of his son. And as Ron now says, he believes his son is a hero. And then also too, we have Meryl. Meryl is another one of my parents that on the CD and in the book, and she was the one. Put your hand up, Meryl, because Meryl was the one. She wouldn't tell anybody. So I used to say to her, "Now go home and talk to the cat, because the cat won't tell anybody." So, so Meryl practiced on the cat, and so it went quite well. And in conclusion, the book talks about the amazing journey that I've had since my son came out as gay. And I mean, realistically, our story was not horrific or anything. We really had relatively smooth sailing. But for those that don't know, I think that the impact on me having a gay son was I realised there's a difference between thinking you have a gay child and knowing. Because then when you know, you have to deal with it. And my fear was not what the neighbours would think, because I didn't care about the neighbours. My son was more important. But it was what would happen to him. Would he be all right? Would he be ostracised? And would he get AIDS? And I mean, I just went straight to AIDS. I didn't worry about HIV. I mean, when I worry, when I do anything, I always do it well. And when I worry well. So, and so in the conclusion, the book talks about the amazing journey I've had, as I say. And in the last 10 years, I've seen great changes. There's been less people dying from AIDS-related illnesses, amazing changes regarding rights and legislation, and acceptance from society generally has moved forward. And best of all, many of the parents that seek help from PFLAG don't have the same issues as they did in 1999 when I first started. And the good thing is they all seem to move to acceptance much quicker. And of course, we still have a long way to go for full acceptance of rights, but it's becoming a reality. And when I started, same-sex couples in Queensland had no rights whatsoever. Now they have de facto rights as a couple. Lesbians can have their partners on their birth certificate if they've had used IVF or artificial reproduction. My son can now become a father through surrogacy, which to me was a very big issue and very important, because when he first came out, he was always talking about, like a lot of them do, how I can still be a father. And I used to be saying, not that I wanted him to turn straight, because I knew he couldn't, but I used to always be trying to use the logic that, no, you can't have children because it's not legal. But now it is legal, and he can become a father if he chooses. So parents never need have that conversation again. And also too, now it debunks the myth that parents won't be they won't become grandparents anymore, because they can become grandparents because their children are now recognised, or their grandchildren are recognised in the family unit. And then also too, the federal government now recognises same-sex couples economically, and that has made a huge difference to same-sex couples. And even though there's still more to do, I feel there's much to celebrate. And I hope that this book is another step towards equality and acceptance by encouraging parents to faster understanding of their sons and daughters, and that it provides insight into the fears and concerns of gays and lesbians coming out, and the many issues and confusions parents work through when their child says, "Mum, Dad, I'm gay." Now, I've finished my speech, but I haven't quite finished, because tonight, last but not least, I have Deanne Davidson, who was my editor. Hello. There she is. Now, and Deanne, I have to say, was just great. And I think I was quite easy to work with, and well, who's going to say no? And so it was a real pleasure doing the book with Deanne, because she made it so easy for me, and she was also encouraging, and just what you would want if you were editing a book and you had no idea what you were doing. So thank you, Deanne, I really do appreciate that. And so thank you everyone again just for coming along and supporting me. And so I think it's probably getting a bit cool, so we might all wander inside. So thank you.